Good day, everybody. Welcome back. Just a guy like you. This is one of our longer format messages, so I hope you'll hang in there with me for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Today, we're going to be talking about the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit. Now, there's 9 fruits of the Spirit, and they can actually be found in the book of Galatians. So in Galatians chapter 5, if you'll look starting in 22 and 23 outline the 9 fruits of the Spirit. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering or patience, okay? Sometimes it's known as kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such, there is no law. In other words, we don't have to have any laws or rules surrounding these things because the fruit is good to the taste. It's good to eat. It's good for nourishment. You don't have to do anything to prepare this fruit. It's just good right off the vine. All right. Meaning that as you put forth these fruits in your life, as long as you offer them to others freely, you really can't go wrong. There's no wrong way to offer peace. There's no wrong way to have goodness and faithfulness in your life. If you just bear these fruits, and if you see these fruits being born in other people, you'll know that they are connected to the right vine, the vine of Jesus. And that's going to bring me to the other part of the topic about when we talk about fruit, the words of Jesus. And if you'll go with me, I'm going to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 7. Matthew, chapter 7. And in Matthew, chapter 7, starting in 15, these are again the words of Jesus in his Sermon on the Mount. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. That's a scary thing. They look good on the outside, but inside they're ravenous wolves. Well, how are we supposed to be able to discern them, Lord? So Jesus goes on. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? And the answer, of course, is no. When you see a tree, if it's bearing apples, you know it's an apple tree. You're not going to grab an apple out of a thorn bush. They don't produce apples. We know the kind of tree and the kind of vines that produce these kinds of fruits. Grapes grow on a vine. You're not going to find them in somewhere else. You're not going to find them in the weeds. He goes on in verse 17. Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. Verse 18. And a good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits, you will know them. What a powerful message that is. You'll know them by their fruit. In other words, hey, sometimes people come along and they pretend to be good, but they're really wolves in sheep's clothing. They're trying to get in, and they've killed a sheep. The wolf has put on the sheep's clothing, and they're trying to get into the flock so they can murder more sheep. Right? That's what the enemy wants. He wants to get people in that are going to kill more of God's people. They're going to do a lot of damage. They're going to tear throats and cut people down. They're going to cause dissension among the people. That's what the enemy wants. Well, how do we recognize these people, Lord? Well, you know them by their fruit. You look at what kind of fruit they're producing in their life. Not just what they're saying with their mouth, but actually what they're producing. What do their actions lead to? What do they, not just, hey, they seem to say the right things, but in reality, they're going and doing X, Y, and Z, right? If you see somebody who seems to say the right things, but nothing seems to be happening around them positively, they don't seem to be leading anybody to the Lord, they don't seem to be drawing people closer to God or encouraging people to really look to God instead of them. They're propping themselves up and not the Lord. They're trying to lift themselves up and leave everybody else behind. That's bad fruit being produced, and bad trees produce bad fruit. Good trees don't produce bad fruit. Good trees produce good fruit. So if you see somebody who maybe stutters or they don't particularly look right, but you always see them encouraging other people. You see them pointing to Jesus. And maybe sometimes they don't, dress the part, and maybe sometimes they don't, always care about how everything looks, but they're lifting other people up, and and God is being glorified, and all of a sudden you see this positive fruit coming from their lives. You can look and go, hey, that's a good tree. There's good fruit coming from this person. So maybe they don't fit the part of what I thought this particular type of person should look like. That's not what a typical pastor looks like, or that's not what a typical evangelist looks like. But the fruit that they're producing is good fruit. Hey, that's a win. That's a positive win. And when we see what these fruits are, they're love. They're showing love to other people. They're acting in a loving manner. They're being peaceful. They're not causing strife with others. They're saying, hey, we need to come together as God's children, and we can overcome this situation, or we can move past this because God wants us to forgive. Think about all the different fruits and use them as a measure. Learn to recognize the fruit, just like in a fruit salad. You can pick out a fruit and say, yeah, this is an orange, this is a grape, this is a cherry. All of these different pieces of the fruit, you recognize them. You recognize them by their taste, by their shape, and you can pick them out, and you know what they are. You know what they're like. So we are also supposed to be able to pick out the fruits that are listed in Galatians chapter 5. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering or patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So if somebody is being loving, they have a joyful spirit. They don't get down too often, and when they do, they make good decisions based on their feelings. Remember I've said this in other videos. You can feel what you feel, but it's what you do with those emotions that define who you are. You can be angry, you can be frustrated, but you make a decision that I'm still going to trust the Lord, right? Even though I'm angry. You make a decision that says, joy is not happiness. You can be happy and you can be sad, but in your sadness, you can still find and exhibit the joy of the Lord, right? You can be peaceful. Say, I'm slow to anger. I'm going to be, or I'm angry, but I'm not going to lash out. I'm not going to strike you down. I'm going to help lift you up and get you out of this. Long suffering or patient. That's a difficult one. It's a difficult one for me. I once asked the Lord to give me patience, and I said, please give it to me right now. I'm not a very patient person by nature. So sometimes it's difficult for me to have to wait on the Lord and his blessings and things that I ask for. But he intentionally will sometimes make me wait on those things because he's trying to teach me patience. He's trying to teach me that it's in his timing and not mine. So somebody producing that fruit, that they're coming from a good tree, right? Patience, kindness, someone who's generally kind to others, who shows that kindness. Man, that's an attractive quality in the opposite sex, especially if you're a man who's seeking a woman as a mate, as a spouse. Man, you can't get much better than a woman who is genuinely kind. Kindness, and it's really hard to teach that. They have to kind of be naturally kind from the start. They have to have been taught that by their parents. Read Proverbs 31 and find out what a virtuous woman is all about. See the kindness that's there. I'll do a video on that someday. But kindness and genuinely exhibiting that is an amazing fruit. Goodness, just having the goodness of your heart, freely giving to other people, freely reaching out and trying to lift other people up instead of tear them down. That's what goodness. That's what comes from goodness. Faithfulness, knowing that God can overcome and having faith in Jesus, having faith that God will answer your prayer, having faith that this too shall pass. Faithfulness is a powerful fruit in our lives, and not one that comes easy, especially if you're impatient like me. Gentleness. If you I grew up as an only child, and so I kind of had to fight for what was mine. When I interacted with other people, I was often coming from a place of I was used to being by myself and used to just making decisions and going with them and not really taking other people into consideration sometimes because I was on my own so much, or I was relating to adults when I was a young child. And so whenever you're relating to adults, you have to kind of have a different attitude. You have to kind of relate to them on their level. So gentleness didn't come naturally to me. I was very heavy handed. I was very firm, and I was a bossy child, bossy kid to other people. That's not gentleness. Gentleness is taking other people's, feelings into account and saying, hey, I'm going to be compassionate towards you, and I'm going to realize that you have feelings too, and I'm going to make you feel comfortable. That's what a gentleman is. It's someone who makes other people truly feel comfortable in their presence. So gentleness, and then finally self-control. That's a rough one. Having self-control in your life, having the ability to keep your own emotions in check. You feel the emotion, but you don't act on that emotion. You get angry and pop somebody in the mouth, right? That's not self-control. You get frustrated, somebody lashes out at you, so you lash out back. They curse you out, so you curse them right back. That's not self-control. Self-control also comes in our finances, right? When you spend wildly. Well, I wanted to buy something, so I just bought it. I didn't care what my finances looked like, or I didn't care that I didn't really have the money for that. I went into debt to buy this thing. That's not a biblical concept. That's not self-control. Self-control says, I don't have the money to buy this thing. Spending to excess on this item, it means that my family's going to suffer because they're not going to have enough for this. I need to set aside this money for later, which means I'm going to live more frugally now so that my family can have good times later on. I'm saving for my kids' college. I'm taking out huge loans to go to college rather than or to college of my choice, rather than going to a trade school, or rather than going to community college for a little while to get some basics out of the way. These kind of things are not self-control. Self-control comes in many, many forms. So just remember, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, and peace, patience, kindness, and goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Okay, there's 9 of them, and Jesus says that good fruit comes from a good tree. Bad fruit comes from a bad tree. If you will produce these fruits in your life, and you will work and say, Lord, please help me to produce these fruits because I'm connected to you, then I know that others will be nourished by my presence. What a blessing that would be, is for other people to say, I'm encouraged when I'm around this person, or this person they're always helpful, and it's good to have them around. I want to call them for this kind of project or this kind of an emergency. They're good to have around, or this person is always going to bring a positive spin to anything that we involve them in. People will want to be around you. People like fruit. It's sweet. It's good to the taste. It's nourishing. And they want to be around it. They want to be surrounded by it. But if you are sour and bitter and just rancid, people are not going to want to be around you. And you're not going to draw other people to you. And most importantly, you're not going to draw other people to the Lord. So I encourage you to have the fruit of the Spirit in your life. And remember, when you're looking to judge other people and whether they're truly sent by the Lord, look for the fruit in their life. Are they giving off good fruit? Because it only comes from good trees. And good trees are connected to the water of life that Jesus brings. I hope this message blessed you. I hope that you'll look forward to more of these messages, and I hope you'll share them with other people. We like bringing them to you, and we want to get this message out to as many people as we can. So please like and subscribe to this page, and send it to other people. Tell them, hey, check this out. And we would love to have other people as part of our Just a Guy Like You family. We're not trying to speak down to anyone. I struggle with things just like you do. Again, I'm just a guy like you. So please share these messages. Help us get the word out. We love you. God bless you. And we'll talk to you soon.